What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York, calling from the quarantine zone again. Hope you all are safe. And this time we got Tomas of the almighty LIK on the phone. Thank you for your time today.
Hi, Alex. Thanks for having me. That's really cool.
Yeah, really cool to have you here. So the newest album is Misanthropic Breed, which is scheduled to come out this September. Do you just want to talk about like how the making of this record was? Like, was there like a thought process going into it? Was there a lot of improvising involved? How did Misanthropic Breed really come to be?
Yeah, sure. I don't know about improvising and stuff like that. And I think like the first song, The Weird, or maybe it was Decay actually. The first song that was written for this album was like a year ago. Maybe I think I had the riffs for the song while doing Carnage even, but it didn't end up on that album. And then gathering songs while and song ideas while out playing together. We're just bored sitting on a tour bus or whatever, humming riffs or trying to write lyrics. So it's been a long process of songwriting. I don't think it was we didn't have a red thread or anything. Just try to make good league songs. Nothing special really, I think. But yeah. Of course, we do some jamming and stuff like that in the rehearsal. But yeah.
Do you conceptually consider this just a direct follow-up to what we heard on Carnage, or is this almost kind of like a new beginning in a way?
I haven't really thought about it that way. It's no, it's not a new beginning. I think it's more of a follow-up. I would say if you, it's more of a follow-up. I would say. Yeah.
So I'd imagine that people who may have gotten into you guys through Carnage and may have discovered you guys on that album, they'll easily appreciate Misanthropic Breed, right? It's not like you changed anything up or anything like that.
No, not really. Maybe it's a bit more melodic sometimes if people don't like that or whatever, for every reason. But I think it will be. I think if you're into Carnage, you're definitely into this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've noticed that there was like many different like vibes on this album. Like I thought maybe like Decay was different from like Funeral Anthem or Morbid Fascination or Wolves or something like that. So is it fair to say that like maybe these songs are almost like representative of an emotion that you or the rest of the band were feeling in a way?
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, I think Decay is really early written, like in Carnage era or whatever. Early, it's like 2 years between, but still, I think that song is early written, and like you mentioned Wolves, and you mentioned, I think the last song one of the few last songs we wrote for the album was the next thing that was coming out. What's it called now? The Funeral Anthem, and that like they're the newest songs that we have written. If you know what I'm saying, so
yeah. And you also
answering your question.
Yeah, you also released the EP back in 2019, the Stockholm Death Metal EP, which featured 2 new live tracks. But Revel and Gore was a brand new song, right? Or was that like a B-side off of Carnage?
No, it was a brand new song. It was written for that purpose.
Could that almost maybe serve as a direct representation of the direction that LIK was going into at the time, in a way? Like maybe a preview of what we could hear on Misanthropic Breed?
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. I think it was. I think the difference between Carnage and Misanthropic Breed, I think the songs are a bit more mature. I think they're more straight to the point. Also, I think, and for example, the song as Morbid Fascination. I think we really wanted to, keep it the same, not change, not too many riffs, not too many. It's more straight to the point, but still. I don't know how. I think it's just a maturing part or whatever, it's not much stuff going on. It's just like that Morbid Fascination is like a Metallica song. We call it the Metallica song.
Yeah.
If you know what I'm saying.
Definitely. I mean, sometimes fans get a little scared when the band says that they're maturing their sound a little bit more.
Yeah. But it's not that drastic.
Yeah, of course. It's not like there's not going to be any gentle ballads on this album.
No, not at all.
Yep.
for the leak thing, I for me personally, I like to listen to a lot of different music styles. But for me, like death metal, and how Leak is playing death metal is the way that I like to listen to death metal. So it's like we have this frame. We're not gonna go out of it, ever. If we're gonna do that, if I want to do that, I write something else and keep Leak the way Leak is. It's not like doing. Not to mention any bands, but doing some, turning in a total different direction. Just Leak is going to be Leak. If I want to do something else musically, I do it some other way.
Yeah. Well, I've thought, a lot of people like to call you death metal, but, I feel like you have many different aspects of it. Like, you have, the classical, Cannibal Corpse or Morbid Angel or Obituary sound, but I think people who like At the Gates or The Haunted or early Soilwork could also appreciate you guys as well.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Yeah, really. We're not the Cannibal Corpse death metal, not Morbid Angel. Even though they're cool bands, it's not that. We're more of the Stockholm area, Dismembered and Tube. That's where we get our inspiration from.
Mm-hmm. As a vocalist, have you always needed to hear music to come up with lyrics, or has there ever been a time where maybe you had a concept in mind and that could help determine the music itself?
Oh yeah. For sure. I sometimes just come up with lyrics while at work or whatever, so I don't have to have the lyrics. Sometimes, of course, have the music. Sometimes it helps having a cool riff or whatever. But for me, when I'm writing lyrics, I could come up with it in my head.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
And the stuff Chris does, he usually never has. He sends me his lyrics, and we put music on it together as well. But I create riffs that match the feeling or the vibe of his lyrics.
Mm-hmm. And I'd imagine inspiration has struck at sometimes the most inconvenient times as well, right?
Yeah, for sure. But then the nice thing with the smartphones is that the recording, you can just hum in the riffs, or you can hum in the lyrics or write it down instantly, and take it up later, bring it up later.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy. When Chris, if he writes a riff, he usually send me his ideas, just humming them. Okay, yeah, maybe that could fit in here.
Have you ever thought about making an album where it's just that? Maybe you could. Yes. People will lose their minds.
That would be great, actually.
Yeah. Now, being such a prolific artist and, playing with multiple bands such as Nail and, playing live with Bloodbath and Catatonia and so many other bands, is maybe there a different mind frame depending on the projects that you're working on, or is there a usual method behind the madness that applies to everything?
I think it's the usual method, actually. Yeah. It's just me. I think no difference between... No, I think it's the same, I haven't really thought about that. I think it's just me and the way if I like something, I really want to do it and play it or whatever. That's. I try to do other things except music, but it doesn't really work. It's music that I like to create and play. So. Yeah.
And when you look at the entirety of your catalog, when you look at Nail's Ghost Road Blues, or you look at Leak's Mass Funeral, Evocation, and it almost seems like these have to be a timeline or a retrospective of who you personally are, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And do you like to leave the music open to interpretation, or do you try to maybe engage the listener into a story or a subject matter into the music?
I think it's open for interpretation. We get a lot of different interpretations from a lot of people. So I think I'll leave it to the listener to decide what they want to hear.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And and being that inspiration comes out of nowhere sometimes, it's not like you're even thinking of conveying a message, right? You just strike when the inspiration hits, so that can't even be a priority at the moment, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Now, one thing I was really curious about is here comes the most difficult question of the interview because Misanthropic Breed is a minute and a half long of a song, but then like The Weird is like 2.5 minutes, but then you have a song like Becoming that's almost 6 minutes. How do you know when a song is done?
Oh, you don't really. It's like for the title track, it was just happenstance. It got that name, the Misanthropic Breed. It was just, we need to have a name for this track, and didn't really know. Maybe just call it Misanthropic Breed, and that's the end of that story. Okay, cool, we call it that. No worries. For the shortness of the weird, it's like I wanted that song to be like, I think when I first heard it, when it came out, it's like, this has to be the opener for the next album. It has to really crush it this time. It has to be really brutal. And I told Lawrence, who's the producer and recording and mixing guy, I was like, we need this intro that's like short intro with screaming and murdering and stuff. Like, it's gonna be really horrible, and then it just opens up with that first riff, and then it's like full on. So I just knew that it has to be a short song. Maybe that maybe like 2 minutes or whatever it is wasn't what I was aiming for, but I didn't want it to like have a down, what do you say, down break or downbeat? How do you say it? When it goes slow doom or whatever want to call it. What do you say in English?
Blast beats?
No, when it goes down, it becomes slower.
Down tempoed?
Yeah, the down. I didn't want the down tempo. I just wanted it to go full on skank or tvåtakt that we say in Sweden. Just full on all the song. And to make that interesting, you have to have it really short. Otherwise, it's like just tuki all the song, and it would be boring. So
yeah,
maybe that's how I knew that song would be short. And for like the Becoming is more of a story, I think. It's like the intro part, where it's like groovy entombed thing, the opening riff there, and then it goes into, as we call it, the Slayer part, where you really can't hear what's going on with the guitars, and it's really fast, intense part, and then the ending, which is like, because the lyrics is about someone in some guy or girl in a battlefield that's fighting zombies and slowly turning into a zombie himself. So that's why it got so long or whatever. Because of the ending, it has to be like this epic dying riff or whatever that's going on in the end. That's how I see the song anyway.
Yeah, that is amazing to hear. Can you guys maybe write like a horror movie soundtrack one day? When I first heard Carnage, I was like, this band needs to make a movie soundtrack one day.
Yeah, for sure. That would be really cool. Actually, yeah, that would be cool.
Yep. And like being that, like this was 2 years between Carnage and now, like is what we're hearing on these songs, is this the first initial take of it, or did these songs change a lot over a span of time?
Oh, the songs change a lot, man. It's some songs don't. Some songs just stays, but a lot of songs change. For example, we weren't even sure if we're going to have Becoming on the album. We were like, it doesn't really work. And then again, Lawrence, the producer and guy, he was like, it's going to be awesome, guys. Just trust me, man. We record it. It's going to be fucking great, So just do it. And when we wrote Funeral Anthem, it was supposed to be another fast track. It was written like, it has a more thrashy vibe. It had the same intro, the melodic intro stuff, and then it was like straight on, very, again, skank beats and stuff like that. And then we made that song that way. And then got home, and Chris by chance just played that beat that is generally in the song is just like ooh, da, now it's more easier in the end of the song. And I was like listening to demos, like, why don't we do the whole song this way instead of having another skank beat fast track? Because we don't need that for the album. The album already has a lot of fast tracks. Maybe we should do it this way. And then just got back to the rehearsal space the day after, and then me and Chris redid it, and Jocke and Nille came to the rehearsals because and I was like, what have you done to the song, guys? It was like, I think it's better this way. And we had to like convince them that, but guys, come on, this is really, really cool, and it's really, adds to the album more than just having, okay, a fast track, oh, another fast track, oh, another fast track, cool, fast track. It adds some, spice to the album, and that song really turned out really cool. It's like a casket garden of Dismember or something like that.
Yeah. Well, contrast I've always thought is really good in the album. And like I feel like it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. If you write 11 tracks of just pure aggression and just pure brutality the entire way through, people are going to criticize it for being repetitive. If you experiment, people are going to say that it's all over the place. So you really can't win, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and that's really funny on how Becoming was originally not going to make it on the album. Aren't you always worried that the song you may leave out on the album could be a B-side one day, just be the biggest hit you guys ever had?
No worries about big hits, but yeah, for sure it can be a B-side or whatever, but not usually worried about that. I'm mainly always worried about if the song is good enough, or like 1 week before recording, it's like, oh, all the songs are shit. What do we do, guys? And then, after the other guys usually convince me that, no, come on, it's really good. Don't worry, it's gonna be great. Yeah. I've never worried about a B-side or something becoming a hit. I generally worry about all the songs most of the time.
Yeah, you worry because sometimes, obviously when you're working on one song, you have to focus on just that one song alone. You don't want to be distracted. But I guess in the back of your mind, you're wondering, okay, the song sounds good on its own. How is it going to sound, in between these two songs on the album or something like that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And that could ultimately make or break it too, right?
Yeah. A lot of ideas have been ditched because we don't need that at the moment. I think me and Chris decided that we had seven tracks first, and we can't do any more tracks. This is it. This is 7 tracks. It's gonna be the album because we thought now we have just, this is the best we can come up with, and then all of a sudden things happened again. But yeah, sometimes that just happens. That okay, now we have the whole. What can we possibly fit in here? Now we have this kind of track, and this kind of track, and this kind of track, and what can possibly fit in here now that makes it more interesting instead of, like I said before, another one of these tracks, another these track, I think when listening to an album, it's hopefully, it's really hard to get, but hopefully you get all the tracks interesting. Maybe not all tracks are fantastic, good songs that could be hits, but all of the songs has to be interesting. I don't really want, of course, all people would say, I don't like this track or I don't like this track, and but how do I say it? I want all songs to be interesting in some way.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the best song in the world, like Tenacious D. But it has to be interesting. Otherwise, it can fuck off and away from the album. And like you mentioned before, it also has to have its purpose for the album.
Yeah, I'd imagine, and I've never made an album, but I'd imagine that picking the order on which the songs are going to be arranged on the album is almost just as difficult as any other aspect of making the album, right?
I usually am involved in picking the order, but I just go for the beginning of it. I just put up okay, I think I have a track list thought out in my head, and then I put all the tracks up in iTunes or whatever listening to, and then I go to the start of the song, and then I go directly to the end of the song, and then play the start of the next song and the end of that. Not listening to the whole song in between, just checking if the start and end is like glued together, or if it's like, oh, that's the same tonality here, like this one, I have to move that, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But sometimes it can be really hard, and I think this time we really moved, especially for the B side of the last 5-6 tracks. That was moved around a lot. The first side, I think we had quite good thought about where to put all the songs, but the other side we were really back and forth.
Yeah.
But it turned out cool. I think really cool.
Definitely did. Whatever you did on this album, I wouldn't change a thing.
Okay, cool. Thanks, man. Thank you so much.
Of course. And the final question I wanted to ask you is, and I know it's almost kind of cliche at this point to ask, but obviously Sweden being just the metal capital of the world, and you guys coming from Stockholm, but like I heard that like Stockholm and Gothenburg and the different regions of Sweden almost have like different types of scenes in a way, or metal is more prevalent in other aspects or not. Is there kind of like a current active Stockholm scene that you guys are in at the moment, or is the goal for LIK right now to kind of like get outside of Sweden a little bit more?
There is a scene. It's small. I think a lot of people think that Stockholm, and I guess it's the same for Gothenburg, because there's so many metal bands coming from those cities, that it's like the capital of metal or whatever. But it's really not. I think we have like 2 metal bars here.
Really?
Yeah, it's really. And people have tried, to play like death metal and stuff like that, but it doesn't work. People don't want to. I think I heard one Dismember track in my entire life at the bar once.
And then they're just playing "Walk" by Pantera on repeat for the rest of the night, right?
Yes, for sure. Yes. So in that sense, Stockholm is not like a metal city at all. And I'm not sure if like for me, like if I want to listen to music, I stay at home and listen to music because I'm prepared that I'm going to hear like music that I don't like when I go out. So I stay home, listen to the music that I like, and then I go out, and hopefully there's a cool track or whatever. But I really don't try to bother about the music outside. So, but the the metal scene, of course, they're actually really cool because there are young kids coming to the LIK shows, like kids in like 18 years old, and coming to watch us play, which is really, really cool. And they also have bands, and they say that we really like you guys, LIK, you're really cool, so we're really influenced by you guys, and that's really cool. So there are bands, not too many places to play though, for smaller bands that are cool places.
Yeah.
Because all of them get shut down or whatever. So,
yeah.
But there is a scene, but of course, LIK, we want to go out and play worldwide instead of just playing Stockholm.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, I've actually heard about this. Like when people think, like when they go to Sweden, like the second they get off the plane, the whole country's just going to look like one big Ozfest. And like that clearly isn't the case. It almost is like with any scene in general, it's almost kind of like you have to look for it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. And metal here in America, I've noticed that like European metal, whether you sound like Three Doors Down or you sound like Mayhem, if it's European metal, it's just automatically like put up on a pedestal. So,
okay.
So I think just people think that when they go to Europe, like it's just that whole continent's one big Ozfest.
Maybe people think that way, but that's not the case at all.
Yeah, it's just.
But it's really cool when you play here in Stockholm. There's a lot of people. Who's that guy? I've never seen those people. There are people here, but they seldom go out or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
crawl out from a stone or rock or whatever.
Come out from the underworld.
Yeah, maybe. Not sure.
So
it was cool when they had this Scandinavia Death Fest. Dismember's return gig was last year, I think, here. And we had was a lot of people coming from all over the world, and everybody was going to a place called the Skogskyrkogården to watch that dismembered cross and have a picture. The entombed cross and have a picture at that place. And I lived quite close to that place. It was so cool to see so many metal people coming out of the subway and just walking. It's like, this never happened before.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was really cool, actually.
So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate this. Just the final thing I need to ask is, obviously thanks to a certain virus that I'm not naming on my podcast.
Sure.
But obviously, when all this is said and done and all this is over, obviously you guys will be on the road. Is there a chance you could bring Misanthropic Breed to the States one day?
Yeah, we would love that. That would be really, really cool. So hopefully, yes, if we're allowed and everything, that would be really cool, actually.
Awesome.
Really cool.
We definitely look forward to seeing you guys here. I mean, you guys are fairly popular in the death metal underground here in New York City, so.
That's great. Cool. Good to hear. That's really cool.
Yeah, definitely. But thank you so much, Tomas. Everybody, we are here with Tomas of LIK, Misanthropic Breed, coming out via Metal Blade Records, September 25th. Be sure to pick it up then. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.